That's right, guys. Welcome back to True Talk Chelsea. In today's podcast, myself and Palash will be debating on if we are Lampard in or out and discussing potential points for both sides. Ever since our bad form became a consistent sight, many Chelsea fans have taken their blame to Frank Lampard himself. There's been a recent divide amongst Chelsea fans on whether they're Lampard in and want him to stay or if they're Lampard out and believe a new manager should take on the challenge of what is the rebuild of Chelsea FC. I personally am Lampard in all the way. How about you, Palash?
No questions, absolutely no doubt. Frank Lampard in Frank Lampard we trust.
Definitely. So what is your main reason on why you want him to stay? What's your biggest point to make?
Well, I don't think that 4 to 5 results can be even the worst of 4 to 5 results can be good enough to sack a manager at this level. And Chelsea FC has got this we can say bad habit of not backing their managers and being very reactionary. The board has got this flaw. Even with Antonio Conte, he got us the Premier League in his very first season. And then in the very second season, he got us the FA Cup. That's such a good achievement, like getting 2 trophies in 2 seasons after finishing 10th in the previous season. But then just because he could not get us UCL football, the board decided to sack him, which was unneeded in my opinion. Even before Conte, you would look at other managers, they haven't been given enough time. And I really hope that this time out, the board does believe in Frank Lampard, considering he's a Chelsea legend. Considering his first season at Chelsea, how overwhelming it was, he exceeded all expectations. And I really hope that all Chelsea fans keep their patience, they trust the process, trust in the man, Frank Lampard.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. When we first, got the news of Lampard becoming manager, I was really happy because, like you said, I really want a manager that the club will back and someone that can stay here for a long time and actually make us a big team again. The 3-year plan that was on talks, I very much believe in it. It's the second year now, and of course, it's going to be difficult. We are going to have rough patches like we are going through now, but it doesn't mean that we can't get past it and we can't become a top team again because we can. And Lampard, one of the reasons why I really like him so much is because he understands the club, he understands the players, and he backs the players. He never blames the players themselves for the recent performances. He understands, he takes responsibility, and I think that's really important to having a manager.
Definitely. And like Frank Lampard mentioned in his post-match interview, we went on a 17-game unbeaten run. At that time, everyone was like rating Frank Lampard very highly. There were people asking him, when is the new contract extension coming? And then all of a sudden, we just get 4 to 5 poor results. And suddenly, the common public sentiment among Chelsea fans is Frank Lampard out. I mean, this makes zero sense to me. Just because of 4 to 5 poor performances, a lot of individual errors. You've got COVID situation going on, and not forget the Premier League this season has been so competitive. You've got Liverpool dropping points. You've got other teams dropping points. I wouldn't exactly say that the fixtures were that easy. You've got Everton who are doing so well under Carlo Ancelotti. Wolves who have been a good side since 2 years now. Aston Villa who had not conceded a single goal in the entire month until they played us. So I wouldn't say these fixtures were exactly easy. We have West Ham who are just like 7 points apart from the top of the table, and yet we managed a good 3-0 win. So all I would want to say is that yes, the performances have been poor, the results have been poor, but we should not forget that we were on a 17-game unbeaten run before that, and we must not forget Lampard's first season at Chelsea and how he brought UCL football out of nowhere, spending nothing, losing our talisman, Eden Hazard, and he's a club legend basically, and we must trust in Frank.
Exactly, and like you said, a lot of the teams have been good this season. It's not one-sided like it was last season where it was Liverpool, maybe Manchester City. All the clubs are doing well. If you look at the table, it might be, we might be just 3 points ahead of Arsenal, but we are also 3 points behind Spurs, who are currently deemed as title contenders. So I'm really not worried because if we get out of this patch, we can continue a good tempo and get back up there again. So I think one of the reasons why we might not be doing so well is because the other sides are, and the players are definitely not used to it. If we look at the squad as well, it hasn't definitely been easy because, like you said, COVID, congested fixtures, we've had lots of injuries. And even if you look away from all of that, we have 6 players in our starting 11, the proper one, the one that all the Chelsea fans want with Ziyech, Pulisic and Werner, Havertz as a cam, that kind of formation. We have 6 new players compared to 5 already established ones. And that is more than half of the squad just coming in. Brand new league, brand new team, brand new tactics, formations, everything's brand new. If we look at players like Havertz, they didn't really get a pre-season, to train or anything. They were just thrown in. Werner has played practically every single game up until he lost his confidence. So I wouldn't blame it all on Frank Lampard, and I don't think that sacking him would solve anything at this point because if a new manager comes in, the players are still inexperienced, injuries still happened, and they are happening right now. We've got 3 players injured ahead of the cup. So I do not think it would be a smart move by the board to bring someone completely new in that doesn't know the players as well as Lampard does.
Very, very valid points, I must say. Especially how you spoke about 6 players coming in the starting 11 directly, them coming into a completely new league. I think 5 of them haven't even played in the Premier League before, adjusting to the new life in COVID situations under a new manager with new teammates. But people aren't going to see that. All they're going to see is how we spent 222 million. I've seen this figure. I've seen 222 million about 1,000 times already over Twitter, Instagram, and honestly, it annoys me right now because these are the very people who have forgotten that Lampard went 2 windows without signing a single player, and in that time he got us top 4 with a FA Cup final as well. If you look at him currently, he's had 3 transfer windows in which he has spent a total of 220 million. That's like 68 million. And we must not forget the squad, 68 million per transfer window, I meant. And we must not forget the squad that he took over when he came in. We had the likes of Kepa in goal, which was very needed fixing. We had Marcus Alonso and Emerson at left back, which definitely needed change. And even the entire squad, we didn't have exactly a very uh, good striker, which we got in Timo Werner. We did not have creativity, which we got in Havertz and Ziyech. So, I mean, it's kind of annoying how we see Chelsea being criticized for spending too much because, according to me, it's completely justified. A club like Chelsea, having an owner like Roman Abramovich, if you do not spend you spend 0 million across two transfer windows, it's definitely obvious that you're going to be spending so much in the next one, and we have the funds for that. We've got about 150 million after add-ons from the sale of Eden Hazard. We sold the likes of Alvaro Morata and we got about 50 million. So this is clearly just good business done by likes Marina Granovsky, and I really don't know why these troll pages are going behind Lampard for spending 222 million. I mean, the manager does not even have to do with every signing. Yes, the manager does play a part in it, but some of the signings are made by the director and some of the signings are made from other personnel in the board. So the criticism, according to me, is definitely not justified. And even for with Chelsea fans, they have been criticizing Lampard so far. My question to them is, did you not see last season? They've been saying that Lampard cannot manage new signings. I'm like, did you not see how he made 0 signings, and yet he defeated Klopp in the FA Cup, Guardiola in the Premier League, Jose Mourinho twice. Actually, he became the first manager to defeat Jose Mourinho home and away in the same season. He also defeated Ole in the semi-final. So, and Ancelotti in the Premier League. So he's gotten the better of all these managers without making the signings. So when all our new signings, all our expensive signings do become experienced in the Premier League, when they mature, when they get used to life in England, I can just imagine how well Frank will do with them and how well Chelsea will do with these players.
Yeah, I think one of the points that you made that stood out to me the most was the 200 and something million figure. I keep seeing it everywhere, and exactly like you said, it's really getting on my nerves. And it's not because the signings haven't been performing or anything like that. It's because it's not the whole picture, right? We didn't spend for 3 windows. We were banned. We lost Eden Hazard, that was our main playmaker. In the season that he left, he got over 50% of the total Chelsea goals and assists all by himself. And when you lose a player like that, when you have other players that you need to offload because of maybe past mistakes in the transfers, you're left with an empty squad. We might have a very large squad, like Lampard has said many times, that players need to be offloaded. But it doesn't mean that a large squad means a quality squad that we can use to get forward with and improve for the future. The players that we have signed, hardly any of them are in their prime. I mean, Chilwell's young. He has been performing well, but that's because he came from Leicester. He was already established in the league, established in England. Havertz, Werner, the very young players. It's it's a whole completely different life to them. I mean, Havertz himself, like you just mentioned, towards your last points, he had COVID. He's by himself in a completely foreign country. We have to remember that the players are people as well, that they didn't choose their own market values. It's just how it is right now. And one of the most important things I think is that we have to remember it's not about the fact that we spent 200 million or something. It's about building for the future. Yeah, we spent 200 million now, but we're not expecting results right this second because that's not why we bought the players. That's not why we bought Kai Havertz. That's one of the top German talents. That's not why we bought Timo Werner. That's an established striker. It's not why we bought the players to make them perform right now in this moment because everyone has rough patches. They need to adjust. So I'm not worried, but it is annoying because the media is portraying it like they should be performing, which doesn't only put pressure on the players if they do read these articles, if they do see the tweets, which I'm sure they probably do, but it also puts this kind of maybe I don't know, kind of like a vibe or talk amongst Chelsea fans or rival fans that this isn't good enough. When we all know that we are in a rebuilding stage, that this is a process that we're trying to take forward. It's not oh yeah, let's spend 200 million, let's buy this year's league title kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. One point I really liked was that the players do not get to choose their transfer fee. I mean, Havertz was signed for 72 million. I get it, but the 72 million pounds is not going to Havertz's pocket. It's a fee decided between Bayer Leverkusen and Chelsea. And if the only thing I can see is it's actually a merit to Havertz that he is that kind of player that Chelsea were willing to splash 72 million on him. I mean, there are some Chelsea fans who are criticizing the transfer fee, while as a part of the criticism to the player, did Havertz ask for 72 million? Is he getting the 72 million? Absolutely no. So I really don't see criticism justified over there. And talking about Lampard now, yes, there's another thing I've seen is the win percentage, which has been quite low. Not points per game. I've seen people say that Lampard's points per game have been same to the likes of Andre Villas-Boas, who has been one of the most terrible managers in the history of our club. And this was quite surprising to me as well because what I think of Lampard's Chelsea stint till now is that the first season was above he exceeded all expectations, definitely. I mean, he got fourth in the league, uh, same points as third, by the way, and he got us to a FA Cup final. I mean, if we won the final, it would be a trophy in his first season, and we were unlucky with injuries and refereeing decisions. Not to forget that in the Super Cup we took Liverpool to penalties, and in the penalty which was saved by Adrian of Tammy, his foot was off the line. Even in the FA Cup final, we could see that it was clearly not a red card for Mateo Kovacic, and Emiliano Martinez clearly handled the ball outside the area. And these are just a few things, just a few to the many problems Frank Lampard faced. transfer ban being the biggest one of them. I recently saw a video. It was just a random Chelsea video of 2 to 3 people discussing uh, what Chelsea's realistic expectations can be for the 1920 season after the transfer ban and the loss of Eden Hazard. And I saw them saying that if they get in the top six, it would be a big feat because we can't make new signings. Out of the 21 pundits on Sky, only three, I repeat, only three predicted Chelsea to finish in the top four. And now we're talking about a manager who had never managed in the Premier League, who was a part of only one season in senior management, who did not make a single signing, and yet he got us into the top four. And then he started the second season well, despite the a few injuries, COVID concerns, and the settling of new players. And I should ignore all of this just for the 4 to 5 bad results that he's got, and I should say Frank out. I mean, definitely no.
Yeah, you just briefly mentioned that he had no experience in the Prem before. He only had 1 year at Derby. And I think there's kind of two sides to that. You have a side which is, yeah, I'm glad he's inexperienced because it means that he can learn along the way. He can help the players out. He was a player himself, which I think is a massive help to the young players that are trying to get into the squad. We had Olivier Giroud saying that, and I quote, "It's nice to have a younger manager. He's still learning through his career, but has already got a lot of qualities to manage a team. He's got good ideas. It's always nice to have a manager who was a big player, has won a lot of things," which I think is an amazing point to make because, I mean, all of it's true. And Giroud, definitely underrated striker, and I really respect his opinion, and the fact that he thinks that makes me want to back Lampard even more. But then on the other hand, we have, I saw Jamie Carragher discussing the fact that he thinks that Lampard, he's got a good future ahead of him. He has done a good thing at Chelsea last season. He's brought new players in, he's brought young players in, but he would like to see him at Chelsea in 10 years' time after he gets the kind of experience that other managers like Pep, like Klopp have. Because without experience, you might not be able to take a team forward because you haven't made the mistakes yet. You're making them right now and you're learning from them right now instead of putting everything that you can into making not faultless, but a very established team, which is also a very good point to make. So what do you think? Which kind of side are you on?
Yeah, definitely. I'm still on the Frank inside, but that are some valid points, especially because of the inexperience. And I wouldn't disagree on the fact that if we get a more experienced manager like someone like a Thomas Tuchel, who is currently without a club, then he might just do better with the current set of players. We've got quality all around, right from goal to strike, down the wings, fullbacks. We've got quality players, and uh, I do believe that some parts of Lampard's management, like the in-game management, hasn't been exactly impressive. And a quality manager will benefit us, but as you said, Lampard is learning. Of course, he is still learning, and uh, I think every manager has two aspects. It's one as a manager and other as a head coach. As a head coach, he's developing players excellently well, in my opinion. The way Mason Mount has matured in the last 2 years from being a young kid at uh, Chelsea Academy, then moving on loan to Derby, and now he's rated as one of the best midfielders in England. Definitely, I think he's got the most chances created among any under 21 player across the top 5 leagues in Europe. And definitely heavy credit to Frank Lampard for developing him into such a talent. And Lampard will learn for sure. Mistakes are made to learn. Uh, we've got talking about the European aspect. We reached the round of 16 in the Champions League in very impressive style. It was a decent group. It was easy, but then we still won it. Included some amazing results versus Sevilla Sevilla are an amazing side, and we defeated them 4-0 with practically a B team because we had many first team members missing. But another area when we are unfortunate, even despite of topping our group, we would expect an easy opponent in the round 16, but ultimately we drew with, I think, the toughest probable opponent, which is Atletico Madrid. So such things can go against Frank because at the start of the season, the realistic expectations from Frank were top four definitely, probably top two, and I cannot really see top two happening right now. I think Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United are pretty much in the title race. We've got pressure from Spurs and other teams like Leicester, even like the likes of West Ham, Aston Villa, all of them pushing up. And we also expected us to reach at least the quarterfinal or semi-final stage in the Champions League. But now that we've drawn with Atletico Madrid, it also looks quite unlikely. Luck hasn't been on Frank's side, as we can see. But I really hope that we do get some luck on our side. Even with refereeing decisions, even this season it hasn't gone very well. We had that game versus Manchester United in which we were denied a clear penalty. So every manager needs this bit of luck. You talk about Ole, he's being rated so highly at the moment. There are people who are calling him the proper successor of Sir Alex Ferguson. There are people who are calling him the best young manager in England. But I think he has been very lucky. I mean, he got awarded a penalty kick after the full time whistle. And this luck can't just be seen in the case of Frank. And people are being blinded. I don't know why. They're putting in their own they're putting the rope around their own head over here because what they are seeing is the only thing they're seeing is the amount of money Lampard has spent, and they're not seeing other aspects such as injuries and refereeing decisions. And even while criticizing Havertz, all of them are just seeing one goal in the Premier League. But what they do need to see is 21 years old, moved into a new league, had high, I think it was COVID concerns, which we had high symptoms. Am I right? Yeah. So these are the things that people do need to consider, and they can't just be too harsh on Frank Lampard.
Yeah, if I just, extend on the points that you have made. Firstly, you mentioned his in-game management might not have been perfect. If we look at selection issues, because I've noticed on my page that whenever the lineup comes out, there's a lot of criticism every single time. On one hand, it's valid because it's not what we like to see. We see after the match that it doesn't work. We see during the match that he could have put out better players. But then again, we have to remember that we have had the injuries. I think it was when Callum Hudson-Odoi was injured and Ziyech was injured at the same time. And I got so many messages saying, "Oh, why isn't Shaw starting? Why isn't Shaw starting?" Well, he was injured. How can an injured player start? You know what I mean? So I think injuries have been a massive part to this. And like I said previously, if we got a new manager coming in, the injuries wouldn't go away. Definitely not. The impact that the injuries have caused in the previous matches wouldn't go away. So Lampard isn't left with much choice with his selection issues. And because he can't select the players that he wants to work for his tactics, I mean, he can either change the tactics, which, I mean, would you want to do every match when you've got a new front three, a new midfield every single match because it's either not working or there's injuries? Or would you rather stick to the same system, perform the same system until all your players get used to it? There's kind of two sides to that the fans are on. And I think it's not Lampard's fault. I just don't see it being Lampard's fault when it's a second thing that you mentioned is luck. You think football has been a very skilled sport, top professionals and everything, but we do need that small element of luck. I saw on Twitter, I think it was, and just like you mentioned about Ole, about Manchester United, they have that little hint of luck. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or anything because it's great for a team to have that. I'm just saying that we are lacking it right now. very much. And if we got that little hint of look back, I think Lampard would be performing a lot better. And then the third thing about Atletico Madrid, like you said, it's probably the toughest opponent that we could have gotten. In the comments on every single page before the round, it was literally just anyone but Atletico Madrid. And obviously, knowing our luck, we get Atletico Madrid. Many pages, many sources have reported that if Lampard doesn't pick up his pace and start performing during January, during Feb, and if he loses the Champions League spot, then he will, go out of the club. But I don't see it as being his fault when if we would have potentially drawn someone else, the results would have been different. And with Atletico Madrid being such an established side this season, like I said, I don't see it happening that much. And I'm not really sure what will happen with Lampard in terms of the board. But I do hope that the board keeps the context in place, and so do the fans, because it's not all on Lampard. You can't put the whole blame on everyone's performances on him. Confidence issues, injuries, COVID-19, congested fixtures, all that isn't on Lampard. It's on just these little parts that make up this season's football. So I'm definitely Lampard in, because I don't see any of this as being avoidable, fixable. Like Lampard has said, we have to get through it. The only way out of a bad confidence patch is to get through it, to carry on performing, to look back at the performances and do better. And Lampard, I think he's the only man that can take us there, because he's just speaking facts. He's saying it as it is. He's saying exactly what I'm thinking, and that's really reassuring for me as a fan.
Yeah, definitely. So, do we have anything more to discuss?
I think we are coming to the end of the video now. I've made all my points
Same
very
here.
clear. So thank you for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed this new type of discussion video. Please let us know in the comments which side you are on, whether Lampard in or out, and maybe some of the reasons. And make sure to like this video and subscribe to our True Talk Chelsea channel. Thank you, and see you soon.